We're here with Don Tapscott, the author of a lot of best-selling books, not all of them best-selling, you just said, but, and one of my personal favorite, Wikinomics. Welcome, Don. It's a pleasure to talk to you. You just gave a very inspiring lecture on well, how the world is going to change, and one of the things which personally was very opening to me is you said we have to think about the place of the corporation within society. I mean, what's the use of it? Can you elaborate? It was a question somebody else asked, but you elaborate on that.
Well, the corporation is the dominant institution that we've chosen to create wealth, to innovate, to create goods and services, and to generate jobs and wealth in society. And the alternatives to that have not been good. I mean, a planned economy doesn't work because markets are so important. And we're a long way, won't be in my lifetime, from a day when individuals on networks can cooperate together in loose peer collaborations to create, say, an automobile. But having said that, the corporation is changing quite profoundly in terms of its deep structure, its architecture, its whole modus operandi. And corporations are going to have to embrace these 7 principles.
Okay. And you also asked yourself, will we all become self-employed after a while? You said no, but on the other hand, there will be fundamental changes. Do you think we will move to a situation where, I don't know, 40, 50% is self-employed, or is that way too much?
Well, first of all, most of the growth in the economy does come from entrepreneurs. And increasingly, these are independent actors. And let's face it, young people today, they get laid off or they graduate from university and they don't have a job. That's a short-term problem because there will be a huge war for talent. But, they decide either I'll go back to school, I'll go to Africa and work for Teach America, or I'll just create a business. And I see this happening all the time. So why can they do that? That was unthinkable when I was a kid. To create a business, you needed millions and millions of dollars. Well, today you have the web. And little companies can have all the capability of big companies without having the main liabilities, bureaucracy, legacy culture, legacy technologies.
Does that mean that companies will become smaller, or maybe more smaller companies will arrive? Or
Well, I think that there will be more little companies, but it doesn't mean that companies will become smaller overall. Companies that embrace these network business models like Cisco or Procter & Gamble are bigger than their competitors, just because they can do so much more. But they still find that there's value in having talent within their boundaries.
And you gave the example of Chinese motorcycle companies, which are a lot of small companies working together pretty much as one big one. Do you expect them at some point to merge into a big one, or do you say, well, that might be a model which might work in the West as well?
No, I don't think so. The Chinese motorcycle industry, some of them will be big, because if you make wheels or ignition systems or you do aftermarket support, there's such a big demand for it because the industry is now 1/3 of all motorcycle production in the world. But I don't see them becoming vertically integrated and sort of becoming a traditional Harley-Davidson or a Yamaha, because this current model that they have, it brings the tonic of the marketplace to bear on every single company in the entire business web, and it turns out that that's a great way of designing and assembling, and that's mainly what's going on here, assembling motorcycles.
So companies will become bigger, but focused. However, focused on one specific item.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more smaller companies at the low end. We'll see big companies becoming smaller as they fail to embrace these ideas on their way to extinction. And companies that do embrace these ideas have a chance of being bigger in the sense of more revenue, and in many cases, more employees.
Do you believe that one of the things I recently read about as well, Dunbar's number, the 150 rule, you undoubtedly know about it. There are companies which are splitting up their factories whenever they attempt to reach 150 people, because they say, well, within this we have all small companies within a big company. Is that a model which you
there's
believe in, or is that
because we have the web, it drops collaboration costs. There are a lot more opportunities for these molecular type business models where you have networks within a company or between companies that work together to create value.
Okay. And that's what it's all about in the end, creating value.
Well, it's creating value and in a way that's sustainable. Not just that the company is built to last, but that we're building a world that can last.
Yeah.
And right now we're not doing that.
Okay, then one final question. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term. It's relatively new in Holland, but greenwashing. I think it's an American term. Yeah. So what do you think is the companies that are currently greenwashing? Doing stuff what not really intrinsically changing. Is that a first step towards changing, or do you think they'll never get it and they'll die in the end anyway?
If they're intentionally greenwashing, this is the sort of 2009 version of putting lipstick on a pig, back from the bonfire of the vanities or something, then that says to me they have an integrity problem. And it says to me they have a very severe kind of challenge. That's going to make their business operations difficult. Because if you don't have integrity, you can't build trust, you can't, you have higher transaction and collaboration costs, because without trust, you need more lawyers involved, you need more computer systems, you need more documentation of things, and so on. So, but, I'll kind of be maybe naive here and say that I think a lot of companies, it just takes them time to understand and to start to see that it's in their interest to behave as a good company.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, my pleasure.